sales reps to hear this is because sometimes sales rep will find out what red line the company has that they're selling for, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you guys are gouging," and you're just you guys don't understand. Most solar companies are operating, if they're a dealer, they're operating on a 5 to 6% net income. These guys are not running around, wealthy as all hell. So understand if you don't have at least 30 cents, and if you're a newer company, you probably need more just to get off the ground because you don't have the economies of scale. So when you're building those comp plans, start with that 30 cents per watt in mind.
Stacks in the house. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going?
There we go. Is that the man right there? Brady Slack in the house. What's up, Brady?
How are you guys?
Bro, everybody knows Brady Slack, the tax guy of the solar industry. How you doing today, man? Appreciate you being on here.
Thank you guys. Josh, good to see you. How are you guys?
Good to see you, Brady. How we been?
You can't complain, and if I did, no one would listen to me anyways, so.
Well, I know one person listening to you. I know Mike is listening to you. The CEO of Stacked has to hear you every day, right? What's up, Mike?
Mike doesn't listen to me. Mike doesn't listen to me.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
You hear that accent,
real
Josh?
quick? Before Joe told me Mike was Australian, and so before you guys came in here, Joe's like, "Oh, where are these guys? These Utahan guys, these Utes?" And I'm like, "Mate, call Mike a Ute and see what he says." For those that don't know, a Ute in Australia is like a work truck. It's not a good name.
Yep.
Well, I was saying like the two Utes.
When you come over here,
like Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny, the two Utes.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Where in Australia are you from, Mike?
I'm from Perth on the west.
Okay. That's all right. No one's perfect, I guess.
Yeah, gotta say.
I want to spend some time in the west. Never spent any time. I spent years on the east, all up and down, but never in Perth.
Yeah, Perth's pretty far away. People don't realize how big Australia is.
Perth is the most isolated major city in the world relative to other major cities.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's like, "Oh no, it must be somewhere on the Pacific Islands." No, Australian's bloody massive. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Perth on the other side.
Yep, that's true.
It's like a whole different world for me. I have no idea. You could be talking shit to him. I'd be like, "Oh, okay." Brady, do you know the area, Australia at all, bro?
Well, only because Mike. I spent so much time with Mike that I'm like,
have you gone?
I've heard that before, So
you haven't gone yet, Brady? You haven't gone to Australia yet?
No, Mike hasn't taken me yet.
Next corporate retreat.
There we go.
Now we got to be invited too, since I brought it up now. So thanks for the invite.
Okay.
Make it a crew, baby. No, I appreciate you guys being on here. And, part of why I want you guys on here is because you guys have this awesome software now and, accounting software it is called Stacked. And I wanted to learn more about it and just calling you guys up. I can find out obviously everything, but I wanted everybody here at the same time. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to kind of dive into it a little bit deeper. Do you want to kind of really just quick before we even get into talking about other subjects, just talk about Stacked a little bit and what it is real quick?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take it though, because the majority of this conversation is Mike. Mike is gonna take the majority of this conversation, so I'm gonna take what little limelight I can get.
There you go.
I'm not gonna get much, but in all seriousness, like you said before, Joe, Mike and I also own High Country Finance, which is a full-service tax and accounting firm. And because we work a lot with the solar industry and other in-field sales organizations, from an accounting perspective, we were asked, over the last couple of years to help them with their commissions. And I think they asked us to help them because, we were already helping them with their accounting. There was a lot of complexity around the commissions that are in in-field sales, solar, pest control, security, roofing, HVAC, you name it. And they trusted us to help them with their commissions. Well, Mike, I don't want to, I wish I had more to say about this, but I don't think people realize how good Mike is at spreadsheets. And he's got such a unique background because a lot of his background actually comes from engineering, and then you add in the finance aspect to the engineering. It kind of creates this dirty, nasty monster of perfection when it comes to spreadsheets. And so Mike built out these really complex spreadsheets for a lot of our clients to help calculate commissions. And in infield sales, Josh, Joe, I'm sure you guys are sure a lot of guys spend so much time every week just to make sure commissions get paid out on time and that they're all correct. And they can be so complex with red lines and adders and clawbacks and dealer fees and this, that, and the other, overrides, management splits, that Mike had built out these spreadsheets that were functioning really good. And our clients were happy with them. But as luck has it, Mike's dad by trade is actually a software developer. And he was doing some contract work for us at the time. And he goes, "Hey, Mike, these spreadsheets are about as good as they can get. But if you had a database, you'd be able to do so much more." And within, it was weird. Mike's having these conversations with his dad about a database. And then within the same week, one of our clients who Mike arguably has one of the most complex, or had one of the most complex commission structures out of all of our clients, also came to us and was like, "Hey, what if we built a business around this? There's so much pain around commissions." And so Mike calls me and he's like, "Hey, I've got this idea with my dad. What are your thoughts? Would you be interested?" And I was like, yeah, sure. What the heck? Here's a problem. We've kind of found this solution. So let's take off with it. And again, like I said, Mike's going to take the rest of this and dive into Stacked a lot more because he's way better at it than I am. I'm just a pretty face and I get told what to do. But that, we found a problem. There was so much pain around that problem that we've been able to solve that problem. That's the backstory behind Stacked.
Well, 100%. I'm sure a lot of the problem in a lot of companies is their accounting and trying to figure out and making mistakes and then going back and clawbacks and all this stuff. That's just a big issue.
Yeah.
So Mike, I obviously Brady's giving you the high praise here. What, obviously it's the spreadsheets and you're getting good at it, but what made you take that next leap into all right, I think my dad and I are gonna be able to do this as long as we have Brady Slack with us?
Yeah. So the big thing that made us want to take that leap is that we recognize that it was a consistent problem amongst everyone in the solar industry. We found more and more customers that were asking us to do things, and everyone just had these overly complex spreadsheets. One of the biggest struggles, it's not just putting together the formulas and everything, it's being able to track historicals and keep on top of Joe, you were on a red line up until this date, and then anything you sell after this date is on this new red line, and then anything after this date, this person gets an override, and it just gets incredibly complex. And what we found is that reps didn't trust their commissions. They were complaining all the time, and then they'd send their own spreadsheet of what they'd been calculating, and then you'd spend hours and hours going back through all of your old spreadsheets, proving to them that it was correct. And it just really, what it came down to is if everything ran perfectly in a perfect world, spreadsheets would do fine. But nothing ever goes perfectly, and business is business, and sales reps, they want more visibility. They want to be able to trust that things are being calculated correctly. And we just realized that part of the business was something that no one had really tackled. And so we did actually do a bunch of research into other commission tools out there. And what we found is that there are commission softwares. There's plenty of them. However, the commission softwares that have been built in the past are not built for field sales. They're not built for the sales rep that is actually going to the customer in their home. That, especially in field sales, there's a way of doing commissions that you just don't really see in software sales and things like that. And so we built it out with the ability to handle red lines and handle these overrides with the tiered structure with teams and all these, one of the best things about Stacked, I love telling people, is exceptions. Because in solar, I know that the rule is, if you tell me there's a rule, I know there's an exception. That's always what I hear. And so being able to do these things are very industry specific, and we understand the industry and we're building it for the industry. That's really where this all came about.
When I hear this, you're obviously solving a lot of complicated commission structures. I hate complicated commission structures. I've always been dead simple. But I know people have like and they have reasons for it. Fair enough. If they're successful, why change it? So, but when I listen to this, I'm like, you must, when you onboard a new client, or at least when you started, or I guess you had all your spreadsheets done, but you must have been having to create custom workflows to do all these calculations. And this random guy would come here and throw on a commission structure that you've never heard in your bloody life. And you're like, how the hell do I calculate that? And is that what happened? Like, cause when I'm thinking EPC integrations that we do, that's the same thing that happens for us. Like we have the templates that majority of people use, but then someone just throws a bomb on us. We're like, what the hell are we supposed to do that? Is that sort of what's happening behind the scenes?
Yeah, so that's definitely been a play, is that people will come along and say, oh, I want to do this thing. And we have different conversations when that does come up. One of the conversations is, okay, that makes sense that you do it that way. Here's a workaround that we can make happen in the meantime. It's not the ideal situation, but we can make it happen. Then there's the conversation of, okay, you're doing this, someone else is doing this. We've got a couple of people doing it. This is obviously something that does happen regularly. Yeah. We're going to build it. And so that's usually when it actually gets to the point of let's actually put it into dev. But there's another conversation that I've been having more frequently with some of our newer customers, especially some that are younger in the industry. And that is, why the hell are you doing it that way? And what people don't realize is that they're trying so hard to build a comp plan that's better than everyone else. That's the goal, right? You're not building comp plans just to make them complex just for the hell of it. You're doing it because you want to have the best comp plan so you can attract the best reps. And that's what trips people up, is they keep trying to make it better and better and better, but what they're actually doing is making it overly complex unnecessarily. And there's been a few conversations that I've had with clients where I've said, look, I understand why you're trying to do this, but I don't think it's having the effect that you are going for. And here's a way that you can actually go about it differently that's going to help you better. In fact, just last week, we had a conversation with a client where I said, look, I don't really think you should be doing this. And he said, is no one else doing this in the industry? I said, well, no, I've never seen anyone else do this. And he said, oh, I thought this was normal. Yeah. So I think it's important to understand, everyone likes to keep their comp plans close to their chest and how they're doing it because they want to be really unique, but you can definitely overdo it.
Well, spill the beans. Spill the beans, Mike. What's the word? You don't have to name names here, but like, what's a weird one you've seen or something? Come on, I want to hear it.
Really, really quick though, I would argue there's been a lot of financial turmoil in the industry as a whole. There's obviously been some companies that have gone under. I would argue that this is actually a contributing factor to the cash flow management or the poor cash flow management in the industry.
100%.
They go and try and create these incredibly complex comp structures, and it kills their bottom line. And they don't realize it because they think everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, and they haven't done the numbers. Like I'll have people, and it's not a rare question. I'll get people fairly frequently. They're starting a team, so they come to me, Josh, can you help me with the comp plan? This is what I was thinking. They send me this bloody page of 37 different tiers and systems. I'm like, dude, why? And they don't know why. They just maybe got that comp plan from another company, or they just Googled it and like, it isn't just normal. I'm like, no, do this, 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 and this. And they're like, really? It can be that easy? Yeah. Why are you making it complicated? So yeah, again, I can't imagine you having to deal with all of that, but I'm glad you're actually telling people, hey, dude, don't do this. Do something more simple now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of pointers. So for those that are listening out there, and I think that this is fair for sales reps. If you're a sales rep, you're not actually the one running the organization, I think that you need to hear this as well. So number one, as a company, if you're doing your comp plans, you're building everything out, and you're doing it on a per watt basis, from an accounting standpoint, I can tell you that if you're not making 30 cents per watt or more on a deal, and that's before you run your company. If you don't have 30 cents per watt or more on that margin, it's very likely that you're going to have an unprofitable business and it's not going to last. And the reason why I say it's good for sales reps to hear this is because sometimes sales reps will find out what red line the company has that they're selling for, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you guys are gouging," and you guys don't understand. Most solar companies are operating, if they're a dealer, they're operating on a 5 to 6% net income. These guys are not running around, wealthy as all hell. So understand if you don't have at least 30 cents, and if you're a newer company, you probably need more just to get off the ground because you don't have the economies of scale. So when you're building those comp plans, start with that 30 cents per watt in mind. The next thing I'll tell you is that one of the biggest mistakes that I see sales reps do, sales organizations do, is they get sold by the sales rep on how good that sales rep's going to be. So imagine this. Joe's got a solar organization. He's got people, a bunch of people underneath him that are selling. I come to him and I say, I'm the best salesperson in solar. I'm just going to crush it for you. So you need to give me a special treatment comp plan that is better than anyone else. And Joe goes, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this, but yeah, I'll give you a really low red line and blah, 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 all this stuff. I've seen it happen again and again and again. And what I always see happen is that sales rep does not stick around for very long and you lose money on them. They're also the sales reps that usually end up talking crap about you once they leave. So
Yep.
These are the kind of sales reps that you want to just put your foot down and say, okay, you do have experience in the industry. And I have a comp plan specifically for those who have experience in the industry. You do start with a better red line than someone with no experience, but you're not getting any more special treatment than that. So what you should do is say, if you hit certain metrics over time, then you can get a better red line. Then you can get better override structures. Like, you've got to prove to me, I'm not just going to listen to you with this great sales pitch and believe that you're going to be the best salesperson that's ever walked the earth, because everyone says they will be, especially if they've been in solar for a couple of years. So those are the two top pieces of advice I can give to someone when they're building out their comp plans.
Mike, did you ever do solar in Australia or any direct sales in Australia, energy or charity or anything like that?
Yeah, charity actually. Yeah, I did some direct sales. So in Australia, there's a lot of we have these malls, like enclosed shopping centers, and we would like kind of rent a booth in the middle of the shopping center, of the mall, and you'd stand there, and you weren't allowed to move too far away from your booth, and you'd call people over and throw a pen in front of them and say, "Oh, sorry, I dropped my pen," and they'd pick it up and give it to you, and then you try and sell them on. Yeah.
Was that a WWF or a Cancer Foundation, or which charity were you?
It was with it was a smaller organization that did sponsoring a child in Africa.
Right.
And it was fun. Taught me a lot about how to sell something that people don't need, but you work with their emotions and pulling their heartstrings and stuff. And I also sold roller shutters.
Oh yeah.
Most Americans haven't seen those before, but they're a big deal in Australia because there's a lot of people that do shift work, and so they want to block out all the light they can during the day when they're sleeping.
The reason I ask is because in Australia, for example, solar commissions are $100 in $100 per kilowatt increments, and we had tiered systems and whatnot. The most complicated, convoluted commission structures I ever ran across is when I came to the US in solar and in direct sales. And I'm not sure where it's from. I know still some very, very large corporate companies in solar do have very convoluted pay scales, so it might come from them as a trickle down. But it's an interesting conversation because I've never really had it other than being the person to tell the other guy, hey, make a more simple commission structure. What about the incentivization, though? So if you're starting a commission structure, what I see a lot of people incentivizing the wrong thing with their commission structures. Are you finding that a lot in the US as well?
Yes, and I think that in most cases they don't realize they're incentivizing the wrong thing. And you can do this not just with commissions, but with employees. Like anytime you're giving an incentive using the carrot or the stick, however you're doing it, you can do it in the wrong way. So one thing that I like to talk to my clients about when we're discussing how to structure their commissions is that you want to look at what's going to help your business the most first. Don't look at the incentives that other people are doing and say, well, that sounds cool. Don't listen to what your reps say would be cool and just say, well, let's just do that. Look at what your company needs first. So if you look at your numbers and get your accountant to do this, if you look at your numbers and you say, okay, well, we're spending 20 cents per watt on average for leads from this lead source, but we're only spending 5 cents per watt from this other lead source, then you want to incentivize your reps to make sales on the 5 cents per watt lead source. There are very simple things that you can look at in those ways in order to incentivize your reps. The other thing that you want to do is you want to incentivize your reps to stay with you over time, because there's a huge amount of cost to you that you don't necessarily see on your P&L and balance sheet with reps changing over. So if you can get a rep to come stick with you and stay with you over time, then you're actually going to, number one, help to build a really good culture within the company, but you're going to decrease the cost of, bringing on those new reps and taking a risk on reps that might be good and might not be. So I think those things are really important to look at. And there are lots of different ways, and this is where it does get complex. There are ways that you can incentivize people to, say, recruit. You could say, if you go out and recruit someone, then I'm going to give you 10 cents per watt on their first 5 deals. Doesn't sound too complex, except when you're doing it in Excel and you've got 300 reps. And now you've got to remember that Johnny recruited Sally, and how many deals has Sally had, and have we paid Johnny on all those deals and everything? And that's where Stacked really helps. In Stacked, you go in, you set it up once, you don't have to think about it again. So it's things like that where you can take something that sounds really simple. The actual implementation is very complex, but if you're able to use a software, you can make that implementation simple again.
Yeah, for sure. And the incentivization, the one more step that I go is like, what are you actually incentivizing things for? Is, for example, as incentivizing appointment setters for appointments instead of sits, or closers for sales instead of closes or installs. And then the stereotypical solar company, they get a bunch of, on paper, they're a billionaire. And then when it comes time to install and settlements come out, oh, we're going bankrupt because they're not incentivizing on the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say really quick, one comment out, and I will probably offend some people with this, and I really don't care. But one commonality that I've seen, and this kind of goes along with what Mike was just talking about, as far as not understanding the numbers and how much you need to actually make per watt, is a lot of people, and it's really easy to leave a sales org and go start my own sales org and just become a dealer, right? But I would argue that the salesman actually makes an awful business owner, because they're a great salesman. They're not a great business owner. I would probably venture to guess I am not the best salesman, but I feel like I'm a pretty good business owner. I understand some of the back ends of those things. And so, like Mike was saying, yeah, a lot of these guys, they'll just go and start something because they know how to sell, and their problem to fix, or their solution to fix a problem, is just go make more sales, not actually understand the numbers and understand the comp plans and what are they giving up. So
yeah, basic data analytics, like the example Mike used. Oh, it turns out these leads over here were getting a sale for 5 cents a watt as opposed to 20 cents. And I'm sure it would be so amazing to snap your fingers and know exactly how many of those instances are occurring right now with solar sales teams. They have no idea. You have that magic genie.
Yeah. So on the idea of getting those numbers and understanding, what it is that your leads are costing you, or your people are costing you, all that kind of stuff. I said go to your accountant. And I know that what a few business owners that are listening to this are going to do is they're going to call their accountant and they're going to say, give me these numbers. And the accountant's going to say, we can't get you those numbers. And they're going to go, you're the worst, I'm firing you, or something like that. What you've got to understand is that working with someone like an accountant is a two-way street. It's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you give them garbage data, then you're going to get garbage reports. If you want the good data, they're going to ask you to track things. Now, when I was first a CFO, I worked at a company where the owners would constantly ask me, well, how profitable are we on this client? And these were clients that we'd had for years. And I'd say, well, I can guess, but I don't know how much time the project managers are spending on them. So we need to track time. And that's, we don't want to track time because that's just, it's going to ruin the culture. The employees are going to hate tracking time. They complain. And then the next month, how profitable are we on clients? I can't tell you that because I can't track time. We don't want to track time, So you need to make those decisions there. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of pain in order to get the data, if you want to be able to have those reports and the analytics that's going to help you to grow your business. So I think it's important for people to understand that if you give really good data to your employees and to your accountants, you're going to get really good reporting, or you have the ability to get really good reporting.
Brady, you were saying that you're not good at sales. That's some BS, bro. I seen you communicate. I know you're freaking the man at sales and business. But what are you doing exactly at Stacked? I know at a High Country Finance, you're running the show there, and your wealth of experience when it comes to tax laws and accounting. But you're, have so many skills and talents. What are you doing exactly at Stacked anyway?
I don't do a lot.
I put you on the spot.
No, it's actually been an interesting, call it a season if you want to, for Mike and I, as we've kind of figured out what are our different roles, where do we fit into each organization, and how do we build the businesses so that they are operable, whether or not we need each other or don't need each other at any given time. We've built our accounting firm, and we have a fantastic team so that Mike has been able to step full-time into Stacked and gives his advisory hours in High Country Finance as needed. Steps into some CFO roles with some clients that we have, and vice versa with Stacked. I am more full-time in High Country Finance, which has allowed Mike to transition full-time into Stacked, and I take more of an advisory role in Stacked, when needed, maybe looking a little bit more on the legal side of things, helping out with some contracts, helping out with some documentation, helping out with some lawyer conversations, But other than that, I think it's also been important for us over the last little bit to allow each of us to step into those roles and kind of take charge where needed. It's kind of interesting. We're going through the conversations with venture capital, raising money. In Stacked right now, and we have we have 4 partners on our cap table within Stacked, and it's interesting because a couple venture capital firms have mentioned, hey, your cap table is pretty big, relatively speaking, and historically we've seen that have issues because you'll have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And so we've kind of had to take the step back and say, okay, great, yes, I'm a co-founder of Stacked, but I'm not an operator. When there's a decision that needs to be made that's going to affect something like equity, that's up to the vote, of the shareholders. However, when it's day to day, and this is why I said this is going to be a Mike conversation, but when it's day to day, I don't know what's happening with the development. I don't know what's happening, with whatever customers we're onboarding. Devin does a fantastic job at that. I don't really need to. So that's, I'm happy with that role.
Well, I'm also
great synergy, though, isn't it? For both your platforms, like what better synergy and business partners to have than accounting and commission and payroll software. Perfect.
Yeah.
Match made in heaven there. I noticed you guys had 4 co-founders. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So it's interesting you made that note. I've always been the opposite. I always like to go super, super, super lone wolf. Opened that up a bit recently to someone we all know, maybe Mr. Moose, on the call here. But it's it's totally off topic, but was that a difficult thing for you, Brady? Or like, what is that process for you, having to step back and be like, I'm here to support, but you take it by the reins. I'm going to focus on High Country.
Was it difficult? I don't think it was difficult, Mike. Maybe you might say it was. I don't think it was. But Mike and I also work really well together. Like Mike is good at what I'm not good at. I'm good at what Mike's not good at. We've kind of recognized that. I think I realized that there probably wasn't an operational fit for me in Stacked. And the other thing that I've realized is, as you're growing a software companies can grow very quickly. They can have high valuations very quickly. And I knew that there are people better suited for those positions than I am. I am more than happy to sit along for the ride, learn as much as I can from those other individuals while we're talking to venture capital firms, take in some of those, notes and suggestions. So I don't think it was hard. Yeah, but I think that's also come from other business dealings that I've had and learning to just kind of mature and understand where I sit and help out where I can. But I've always said I would rather have 10% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. And this is one of those situations where that 10% could be really big, much bigger than 100% of any other grape that we have. And I don't know, Mike, maybe you might have a completely different point of view, but I don't think it's been very hard.
Yeah, no, it's been quite good actually. Up to this point, having multiple people on the cap table has actually helped us to look at things in different ways that we might not have otherwise looked at it. I think that some advice for anyone that does have a business partner or partners is that it's really important to define the roles, and especially make sure you know what the process is, who's in charge, because we've gone through some non-decisions where we've all had different opinions and we just kind of got to the end of that. We didn't make a decision. We had to learn how to, we've got to figure out a way to say, we've got to just make a decision, move forward, and not let that hold us down. So I think it's really good to, especially if you're an entrepreneur, there's a good chance that you've got a nice big ego. We all do. And if you've got that nice big ego, you don't like to be told what to do. You don't like to have an opinion that gets shut down. It's hard for entrepreneurs because we all think that we're better than everyone else. It's part of what makes you an entrepreneur. And I think that if you can take that understanding that, okay, I know I'm an entrepreneur, but this other person also has some skills and they've got values as well. Let's define who's in what role and then stick to that. You can make a business work with the right partners, no matter how many you got. And so I think that some people are afraid of having a business partner because they know that they're going to clash. I think that having a business partner or partners is actually what makes most large companies get to where they're at. It's very rare that you see someone make a huge company all on their own.
Yeah. I mean, you see some companies with 4, 5, 6 co-founders, and they're all fighting for CEO position. They all think they're going to be Elon Musk, and you're like, dude, good luck making any decisions whatsoever when there's money that starts coming in. There's no chance in hell. Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool. I love it. Wonderful.
So we got Brady Slack on here. So I know I always love to, pick his mind. So Brady, would you mind if I picked your mind here, put you on the spot, ask a couple of nuggets about solar tax laws, anything that's changed, anything that companies should be taking advantage of they may not know about, anything with the IRA? I'm putting you on the spot, so if you don't have anything, that's fine. But anything that's jumped into your head, maybe let the industry know about.
Oh, geez.
I knew it was one of those OGs
IRA.
too. So
yeah, there's a lot. I think the biggest change for what would be 90 to 95% of your listeners is just going to be the fact that the government has bipartisan push to continually increase the amount of solar usage that our country receives. They did so by reverting back to a 30% tax credit for an extended 10-year period. And I think they made that very clear. Now, for the other 5%, there's obviously some additional changes with what is direct pay options for certain qualifying entities and corporations and groups. You have the transferability of some of those tax credits, again, for certain qualifying groups and entities. I think some of those aspects were blown out of proportion. They were misunderstood. There's a lot of people who I think didn't understand the production qualifications for the additional tax credits that might be available for manufacturing and who would actually consume those tax credits. But I think kind of flipping sides just a little bit. I know there's been a lot of talk with like the RSA and compliance and some of the judgments that have come out against some of the finance companies. Like we just had the one in Minnesota, I think is what it is. Their AD was coming down hard. I heard the Arizona AD was coming down hard. I think this is a really great opportunity not just from a tax perspective, because tax is one part of what actually happens, but the people who are pushing for the legislation are starting to realize that there's a lot of bad crooks in the game. So now more than ever, and this is another reason why we brought in Stacked, was because we want to help up-level the industry. We want to help bring more transparency to the industry. We want to help companies and reps understand the money side of what's happening in the industry, and even the financiers and the installers. Our software can help immensely with making sure that that dollar gets to the end consumer and that dollar is correct. But if that is not fixed first, then there will be a lot of changes, potentially even to the tax credits and the timeframes with those tax credits, because of lobbyists and because of those who are actually promoting the legislation. So I don't know that there's any other major updates other than kind of what has happened in the IRA and some of those things as of late.
We did Brady, remember we did a webinar, don't know if you remember, when was that, a year ago or a year and a half ago or something?
It had to have been 12 to 18 months ago.
Was that right before the final IRA was confirmed or something?
I think so.
Yeah, because we were sort of like, there were crazy rumors going out.
Like we were estimating and trying to crystal ball methodologies and stuff. Yeah,
we were pretty close on most. We're killing a lot of stupid rumors. Like I think I made a comment about some people seeing the manufacturer incentives and us saying, you think sales reps are going to get any piece of that? No, like there's no shot. There's certain things that were getting cut. But that was interesting to see. You said there's a bipartisan push for it. It's scary though. Do you think that's going to, because what happens at the end of this year? Do you think something could change? For example, RFK.
Again, I wish I had my crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be a hell of a lot more rich than I am. No matter who gets elected, talk about a Donald Trump, a President Biden, or an RFK, there will be new tax legislation. I wouldn't be shocked if the Democratic Party tries to push new tax legislation to get reelected. We've seen that historically. But no matter what happens, there will be new tax legislation. There's actually a bill that is sitting with the Senate right now that was supposed to change bonus depreciation. It was supposed to change R&D tax credits, child tax credit amounts, and it's sitting there. It has not passed, which is a little frustrating because there were some really great benefits to that tax bill. But as far as it relates to the energy tax credit, yes, it was bipartisan, but I see no reason for them to revert back to any different tax legislation regarding energy credits. If they did, I think you would see a major uprising. I think there would be some serious problems as it related to the energy sector if they did, because they've been pretty clear about how they feel about solar in particular. So
yeah, obviously, I hope let's keep it rocking. Yeah. It's such a crazy, tumultuous time right now. It's like things can happen. But I mean, in Australia, for example, there are even more incentives, the equivalent of SRECs across the country. So the U.S. hasn't even gotten that far with their incentives. So whether it's evolution or de-evolution in the incentivization and rebate, be interesting to see. Before I forget, Mike, are you on the dev side a bit, or is your dad's the dev? He does the magic and.
Yeah, so I'm a product manager within the company. Okay. That's a large part of my role. So it's been a really interesting experience because if you would ask Joseph, the CTO, who's my dad, if you were to ask him how to use the product, he wouldn't be able to tell you that he built it. And so I'm the one that explains to him what we need to see and how it needs to function. And so I understand a bit about what it's built on and the structure. Excel can give you a little bit of understanding of the way that code functions, but very surface level there.
Are you guys, and I hate to be this guy, but I've just been on AI binge recently. We're building a lot of AI features for our stuff right now. Have you looked at what natural language processing and AI could do for accounting, commission structures, even just pattern recognition, with individual reps or anything like that? Like, what's that looking like? Anything exciting?
Yeah. So I don't want to say too much about the future vision, but
Okay.
I will say that there is an AI element that we're excited about getting into Stacked eventually. What I will tell you is that AI is going to help me reach the vision of the company. The vision of the company is summed up in an advertisement that we're going to release one day. And it's going to be a monkey in a suit sitting at a computer, and it just says, "Commission so easy, a monkey could do it." That's where we're headed. And
Okay.
we've got the brains behind the software, like the actual functionality is there. You know, it's very powerful what it can do. But making it so that any old, you know, new to the industry, new to sales, new to building out sales organization, new person to anything could come in here, and instead of explaining to me how their commissions run and I build it for them, they can just explain it to the software, and the software spits it out and says, "Is this what you're looking for?" And they're like, "Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and make this happen." So that's the goal. And AI, I think AI has to be a part of that. And so, yeah, we're definitely looking at heading down that road in the future.
I love it. I love it. As soon as you go down that road, I'm technically, I guess, the project manager is as well on our side, and I relate to having the over vision and telling the devs, okay, this is exactly what I need. And so as soon as a cool tool comes along, your brain immediately starts going, holy shit, I could do this, this, and this, and we could build this, and they could do this. So I can just imagine what's running through your head about all the little possibilities.
Oh, 100%.
We've got a list about a mile long, that's for certain.
Yeah. That's the difficult thing with dev, though. You got all these cool things you want to build, so you have to hyper focus on, okay, what do we have to focus on right now? You wish you could snap your fingers and get $1 billion in investment and build everything immediately, but you gotta focus. You gotta focus. Yeah, nice one. I think Joe might be having issues connecting here, though. But cool. So I think the last one that was on our list was money management. I think Brady, did I see a post of yours maybe on Instagram a while back or about like sales reps and that not often talked about conversation of, okay, you got all these commissions, your accounting went in, your commissions are settled, Stack did its job. I did your accounting properly. Now you got all these commissions sitting in your bank account. Where do you put them? Was it on your Instagram or something? I saw that.
Might have been.
Where to put your cash? Yeah,
could have been. I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you guys? I know Brady. I'm sure you have these conversations with reps of the High Country, but is that a common conversation? And similar, Mike, how you said, "Oh, this commission structure is too ridiculous." Are you sometimes working with reps and teams and seeing how you're seeing their P&Ls, you're seeing their commissions, and you're saying, by the way, you're not just going to Vegas every weekend, are you? Are you also having conversations like that with your clients? Or not really? That breach the terms and conditions.
We are not licensed in advising on the stock market. However, we're more than capable of, and so we'll talk to, I think for Brady and I, and Brady will comment on this too, our favorite thing to do is talk to our clients about the investments that we're actually doing ourselves. And that to me is, you've obviously going to have a lot of listeners out there that are not clients of High Country Finance, and that's fine. I'm not here to say that we're the only good accounting firm out there, but I will say
High Country Finance is the exclusive accounting partner of Cenevo. It's still in our platform. It's difficult to find sometimes, but all Cenevo users, you can go to resources, some business resources, and then High Country Finance. You can book in a call with Brady Slack right now. So yes, they should be.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So you should all be. But whether you go with us or not, what's important is that you find someone that is like-minded. So I'm sure you've probably all heard the quote, and I'm not going to get this exactly right, but never take advice from someone who's not where you want to be. And people do that all the time with their accountant. They go and they sit down with an accountant who's, you know, in the later end of their career, and, you know, they still live in the house that they bought 30 years ago, and they're living comfortably, but not crushing it like we're all trying to do as entrepreneurs. We as entrepreneurs, me and Brady, we're doing what your people that are listening to this podcast want to do. And so when someone comes to us and says, "Hey, I've got this potential investment, what do you think?" We're not going to go, "Oh, no, listen to Dave Ramsey, never have debt, put it all in savings, pay off your house." Like that's not the conversation we're going to have. We're going to work with you. We're going to talk through what's your risk tolerance, what's your understanding of the market that you're getting into, of the industry that you're trying to get into, and we'll talk you through and give you, if I was in your situation, here's what I would potentially do, or this is what we've seen other clients of ours do and what's been successful and what's not. So I think it's important for people to understand, just because they're an accountant doesn't mean they're going to help you hold on to and make more money. You need to find an accountant that's also an entrepreneur.
And even better experience in the industry. We're talking right now to a lot of people that have a niche in solar. I know you in Stacked is in High Country is in multiple industries, but I always like to remind people that we spoke to you guys know John Dodart, solar lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the lawyer niche. He knows the industry. We're speaking to all these different guys that have the niche, and they've either sold solar or been very close to it for a while. It's also good to be working with, whether it's a payroll or commission platform or an accounting firm that is heavily involved in the industry that you are in. Sometimes, okay, you go to an accountant and you say, "Oh, by the way, do you work with anybody in solar?" And they'll say something like, "Oh, yeah, I think a few of my clients are in." Whereas if you go to High Country, what is Brady going to say? Yeah, we do. we're in solar.
40% of our clients.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's major
if you want to
benefit to
find
that as
out
well.
if someone actually has experience in the industry, ask them to explain a red line to you. And if they can't explain a red line, then you walk away.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But yeah, I think I love that. It's very, very close to a specific industry. The ins and outs. Not to say that accountants that aren't super in solar are not going to do well, but it's just the next level, right? When you're super comfortable with the industry, all the little secrets and what people do and how they can get screwed over and can't, and what they should be doing with their cash and where to be putting it, how to structuring things. So yeah, it's a cool little niche. I'm not aware, but I'm not aware of any Stacked. I'm sure there are Stacked competitors, but Stacked is, especially because Brady and Devin's involved, that's really the only name I hear thrown around. So it seems as though you guys are capturing at least the solar industry side of things. How are other industries going for you?
It's kind of I was going to say on the competitor side of things, there's actually there are a couple other softwares, but the difference is the in-field sales portion of things. Stacked, because of our industry experience, because we have experience across multiple in-field sales industries, Stacked does things from a commission standpoint that our competitors, name dropping a few, Captivate IQ, Sequify, they can't do that we're able to do with the complexity of the comp plans because it's in-field sales. They're more structured for compensation within a corporate structure or like a benefits package kind of deal. So or a software kind of commission structure. So and they are different.
Very different.
As far as the other industries, kind of going back to High Country Finance and the Excel spreadsheets, I think we realized early on that solar commissions are the most complex. Next most complex probably being pest, in my opinion, and they are very similar. So what we did with the functionality of our software was build the most complex portion of our softwares and then backtrack because everything else is just easier from there.
Right. If it can handle solar, it can handle everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a part of that too is we do have clients in industries outside of solar. I think we're about 10% of our clients right now, closer to 15 actually, are outside of solar. But we are not marketing to any industry outside of solar. It's kind of a nail it then scale it philosophy. We're focusing efforts and our resources just on solar because we know solar so well. And once we've built the company up and got to a point where I don't know if we'll ever be able to say we just have extra resources, but once we have enough resources that we can start to look into those advertising in those other industries, we will. But we're not going to turn away people if we can build their comp plans. So we've had clients come to us and say, "Hey, can you do this?" And we'll take them on.
I missed a little bit of here, but I'm not sure if you guys talked about it. But what are the costs of something like this? Is it something that's just they one-time charge and then you guys are out, or is this an ongoing thing? And is it affordable? Is this something for even the smallest companies, or are you just kind of getting medium to bigger size companies?
Yeah, so we like to charge on a per active rep basis. Now, when I say active, we consider a rep to be active if they make a sale within that month. And we're structured in that way specifically for solar because what we don't want is for you to pay for your crappy reps or your reps that leave. Because as you know, sometimes you bring on a rep and that maybe they're with you for 2 or 3 months and they make one sale. And it's like, well, now you just spent money for them to be part of your CRM and part of your commission tool, and you're taking them on your blitzes with you and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, holy crap, you just spent all this money on this person and didn't see anything out of it. Also, when it comes to commissions, when a rep leaves, there is trailing sometimes 6 to 12 months where you need to keep track of their commissions because there may be deals that are delayed and they're not getting installed fast enough. Or they may have questions 12 months down the line and say, oh, I just remembered from, 18 months ago this commission and I have questions about it. Like there's reasons to keep those accounts active. And so we say we're only going to charge you when your rep is actually selling. If they make a sale within the month, then we charge you in that month. If they don't make a sale, we're not going to charge you for it. The other thing is that we are able to.
That's great, by the way. That's you did. I don't think you needed to do that, but like I would love to hear that because I hire a bunch of people. I know some of them just gonna fucking run off. And I hate always I have to get all the subscriptions and stuff and the new seats over here and the new Steve over here. And the guy never even shows up to a single bloody live training first day on the job. So that's great. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, and we see that a lot. To give you some context, we find that on average, about 30% of the total number of reps that you have on file is about what you're going to see make a sale within a month. And obviously it filters through. But I bet that, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your reps are going to be doing 80% of the sales. And then you get 10% that kind of fluctuate in. And that's what we've seen pretty consistently across different companies. There are some that are up, like they've got 50, 60% and really impressive. But there's also some that are, 5, 10%. I've seen some companies that they've got up to 200 reps and they've got 15, 20 reps that are making sales each month. So it can go both ways.
Are you seeing that a lot? You might have mentioned it earlier, but when you're going in and like they have this one goal or one problem, and it's like, oh, it could be accounting, but you go in, it's like, whoa, this is just the beginning, and like you see a lot of like red flags. Do you kind of talk about the things that they're not even interested in, or you just focus on what they're asking?
Yeah, I will say that I will gauge the personality of the business owner that I'm talking to, first of all, because often the business owners with the biggest problems are unwilling to take any kind of advice.
Know-it-alls. We call them know-it-alls.
Yeah. And that's part of why they're so unsuccessful is because you say, hey, you thought about this? And they go, oh, yeah, you're an idiot. I hate you. It's, I don't know why, but sometimes people turn personal real fast when you're just trying to help. But yes, I do think that often we see clients that have one big problem. It's not just one big problem. It's lots and lots of problems that are all compounding. And usually it's because they're unwilling to play nice with others, whether that be people that are trying to give them advice, people that are adjacent to their industry, so the software companies that they're working with, or their accountants and lawyers, and the EPCs that they're working with, or whatever it may be. If you don't play nice with others, your business is gonna be full of holes.
Man, do you ever do like trainings for like reps? Because companies obviously, you're helping out. Like I think reps need a lot of the help, right? Too. It's like for me, like understanding commissions is like, of course, and like I know like the back of my hand, but it's like so surprising that reps just don't understand it and they just take their checks as they come in. They're like, oh, cool, I got $4,000 check. Like, how are you like surprised about how much money you're making in your check? Like that should be well known as soon as they made the sale, right? But that would be such a cool training to like go over Redline and go over, how to use your money and adders and what the company's costs are, and so that the reps have a better understanding of the whole process too.
That's a really good point. We've never done a training specifically on commissions, how to understand them, and how to optimize what you're doing with the money that you've got coming in. Because I've seen commissions in lots of different industries, and I can tell you this right now that solar has commissions like no other industry right now, at least in field sales. If you're in solar and you talk to a friend of yours that's in pest, your numbers are not going to be the same. It's just a very different world. But I think that's a really good idea. Maybe at one of these conventions we can do a I don't know, break off or something where we talk about that.
I think I know someone with a convention coming up.
You might know somebody.
Yeah, might know. I think like truthfully though, the hope would be that the company is teaching the reps about that. Like I think but it's not. Sadly, that's just the truth, right? But again, going back to this stacked idea, each rep who is on stacked, if their company chooses to use it, has the capability to see the breakdown of all of their individual deals. What is actually getting paid out? What is the deal structure? What are the clawbacks? What is my red line? And they can see what their pipeline value is too. So if the pipeline value changes, they know that there's a deal that maybe did get clawed back, or maybe there was a change to the red line, or there were some additional costs that were charged to that installation. So I think, again, with the problem of reps not understanding it, one, there's just not the visibility for them to understand all of the different calculations and numbers that go into those commissions. So Stacked allows them to see the report history. We have a client who wanted to hide some of the features on Stacked because they didn't want their reps to see some of that data. And I just internally, I thought that's kind of dirty. Like, why would you not want to present that data to the reps? Why should they not have that visibility to see what's actually going on with their numbers?
Yeah.
No,
100%. I've had very strange conversations specifically to do with dealer fees very often about transparency on the platform, and I don't want my reps to see certain things. Oh, I wonder why. Little cut here, little cut
just
there.
Call a spade a spade. I mean, that's kind of what you're alluding to. If it's unfair, but kind of like what Mike was saying earlier, a lot of times reps don't understand that there are costs to running and operating a business. That is part of you doing business. I think there's, and I think there is some push. GoodLeap is actually a pretty decent example of this, where they roll out their dealer direct model. Maybe you have the ability to cut out some of the middlemen, and how does that affect your pay? Because now you're responsible for some of these things. Maybe it is better to go through a dealer so that you don't have to worry about some of those additional costs, right? But I mean, everything has a pro and a con. Look at the pro and the con. But I would say that Stacked allows for the transparency. It has the visibility. So now, from an industry standpoint, that should only be able to help the industry.
I'm loving this conversation, and this wasn't meant to be, a conversation all about Stacked. It's just that you guys are solving a problem, and it's just is a really important conversation to have. And everybody knows that there is solutions out there. And I really appreciate you guys dropping some advice for everybody here. If anybody wants to actually, find out more, or find out for their own company, or just find out more about you guys personally. I know Mike, you have your IG, and Brady, you have your IG. What's the best ways to reach out personally and through Stacked? Mike, go first.
Yeah, so if you want to find me on Instagram, it's my last name, Scicluna23. So you can find
Scicluna,
me.
I got it right. Scicluna.
Scicluna.
Yeah.
There's no
Yep.
C. Scicluna.
Yep.
Got it.
Scicluna.
Yeah, so Scicluna, and then if you want to book a demo, Devin would love to jump on and show you Stacked and talk through how it can solve some of these issues in your business. So if you just go to Stacked, STAKT.io, then you'll be able to view our website. There's a little bit of information on there, but then we'll also get you booked for a demo and we'll walk you through what we do.
And talk about High Country Finance and yourself, Brady.
So yeah, easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram. My handle is at the Brady Slack. And
Brady
there's
Slack,
a link in my
baby.
it's not the
Just
Brady
joking.
Slack, and there's a link in my bio where you can actually either book a demo for Stacked or you can schedule a consultation with High Country Finance. Both demos and consultation are free for both businesses. We're happy to sit down and either kind of evaluate the comp structure that you have, show you the product for Stacked, or if we're talking about tax planning, tax filing, maybe some bookkeeping, accounting, or payroll services within High Country Finance, we're happy to sit down, evaluate what's going on in the business, maybe review some financials, get you over a proposal, and see how we can help.
Hell yeah. This is the founders of Stacked, Brady Slack and Mike Scicluna here on the SolarPulse podcast with Josh and Joe. Josh, anything else?
All good. Thanks, boys. Good conversation. I'll catch you guys
Thank you,
later.
guys.
Peace.
Guys, we'll see you later.